Good, this exercise is a single leg balance with a 90-90 external rotations. So what I mean by that is, of course, single leg balance, we're lifting one leg up, balancing on one leg. 90-90, that means the shoulder and the elbow are going to be at 90 degrees both. So elbow 90 degrees abduction, or sorry, shoulder at 90 degrees abduction, elbow at 90 degrees of flexion. That's our start position, so come a little closer if it's too much tension. And our end position is up here. So these are our external rotations. So single leg balance, 90-90 external rotations here, up and back. Finish up the reps allotted for this leg, and then we switch legs. Make sure our glutes contracted on the leg that's down, and we're here again. 90-90 external rotations. Okay, this exercise is a single leg RDL or Romanian deadlift with a med ball to an overhead press. So starting position, we're gonna start ball at our chest. As we go down into that single leg RDL position, ball is going to come down. As we drive up, position here, single leg balance, drive overhead. Come back down, and as we sink down, making sure our weight's in the posterior aspect of the back part of our leg, of our foot, as opposed to the toes. And we want to load that glute. So once again, here, we're down, drive up, press, down, and back. As we're here, a couple of the faults that you see, hips driving up here in this position. Want to keep those hips flat. Drive up, and then we press overhead. Okay, this exercise is a TRX squat, and then also the TRX single leg squat. So just looking for some depth here. This is more so a warm-up activity. So we're looking to go deep into our squat, try to keep our back nice and flat, and drive up. So back down, arms come forward, and drive up. It's a single leg variation. We're here, going down. Once again, arms come forward and drive up. For this one, probably bring in the hip up at the level of the knee and driving back up. Any lower and becomes a little bit more challenging, but for those advanced maneuvers, if you want to go lower than the level of the knee, that's fine. But for the purposes of warm up, we'll stick it to the level of the knee and driving back up. Okay, this exercise here is the overhead squat. It's going to be used for our warm-ups. Okay, so you can use an Olympic bar, which Charlie has here, or you can use the weighted bar, or if you're more comfortable just using a piece of doweling that we have here, or the tubing, which is over here, up, right here. All are acceptable, of course. So what we're going to look for on the Olympic bar, there's a little notch here. Hand's going to be outside of that. Okay, in between where the grip is, there's a little notch. Keep your hands outside of that. Driving overhead, she's going to press the weight overhead. So she's got Olympic bar. And what she's going to look for is looking for a squat with the overhead press. So she's overhead press the Olympic bar, and she's going to squat down, butt back, good, and driving back up. Ensuring that her knees track over top of our toes, not letting them dive into that valgus collapse. Good, and drive up. Good. Maintaining that arm overhead position. One more time, Charlie. Excellent, and driving back up. Perfect. This exercise is a double leg box hop to single leg alternating touch. Now the idea is to have speed off the ground, and the pause can be at the top if you wish. As you get more comfortable with this exercise, you can be a bit quicker off the top of the box. So from here, we're touched, top. Now as you notice, when I come down, I'm using both arms to get me back up, and then touching a little bit of pause at the top. So. This exercise here is the kettlebell swing. So Charlie's going to be demonstrating this one here today with obviously a kettlebell. So she's going to start by getting to that position, bent knees and the hips, starting with weight a little further forward to get into that start position like you're hiking a football. Okay, so from there she's going to swing it back in, and then she's going to begin the exercise. So what we're looking for is a drive from the hips, keeping a neutral spine. Okay, weight staying in the heels, we don't go into the toes, knees stay tracking well over top of the toes and not inside the toes, into that valgus collapse. As she drives back down, she drives up, squeezes the glutes to that top position, weight stays at the level of the shoulders, the arms are guiding the weight, they are not pulling the weight up. And as she brings it back down, when she's ready, yep, back into that position where she started. Okay, the following exercise is going to be a goblet squat. You can either do this with a dumbbell or a kettlebell. So I'll demonstrate with both. So holding the weight in front of you here with the dumbbell, feet about shoulder width apart, looking to sink our weight back down into the heels, elbows down to the knees, and drive up. Depending on the tempo, you're going to be going a little slower down on the eccentric phase and driving a little quicker up on the concentric phase. With a kettlebell, similar idea, holding at the sides. Same foot position, of course, down and drive up. From the fronts, feet can be toed out a little bit, if that's comfortable for your hips. Down and drive back up. This next exercise is a half kneeling position, shoulder press. And then we'll do a half kneeling position, bottom up, kettlebell, shoulder press. So half kneeling, of course, is here. This is our half kneeling position. Knee on the ground, in line with the hip, in line with the shoulder, vertically. So from the side, we'll demonstrate first. If my left foot's forward, my right foot's back, my right arm is doing the work. Here. Tuck your toes underneath. From here, we're pressing overhead. Now the variations here can be in the scapular plane, sagittal plane, or the frontal plane. So we're going to go nice and tight, up, scapular plane, here, or fully cross extension, the shoulder, and press. Kettlebell, bottom up press, just as it sounds. Bottom up, pressing the overhead. Same position, half kneeling position. As we go out into this plane here, frontal plane, we're going to have a lot of tough time trying to stabilize. So suggestion would be to start weight in front and press up and back down. Now we're going to introduce a lot of stabilization into this exercise with this bottom up press. Here, back down. So the recommendation would be to start with a lower weight, work your way up. Okay, the following exercise is a Turkish get-up. Where we're going to start this with a kettlebell. You can do it, hold here in this position. With a dumbbell, I'm just going to hold it, regular position. So demonstrating with a kettlebell, starting on our back, right hand up towards the ceiling, okay, right knee bent. Okay. From here, we're driving weight straight up towards the ceiling, elbow tucks underneath. We now move and drive the weight further up onto our hand, our left side of our body. Driving with the right glute, hip, extension, very important. Contract that right glute. Very strong to the left hand, to the right hand. Nice and straight line. Tuck the left foot back underneath, drive the weight straight up, split squat to standing. And now the reverse motion, weight is always pointed straight up towards the ceiling. Straight back down, hand down. Leg follows through, almost like a dead leg. Keep that hip driven up, slow down, elbow, back onto our back, and flat. Exercise is a single arm farmer carry. Now we can do this with a kettlebell, we can also do this with a free weight. And what we're looking for is getting to the right position, obviously, to pick up the weight, stabilizing the shoulder. Here, walking straight up, we have a couple variations here. Making sure that we're not leaned over to the side, staying nice and tall. Shoulder back, shoulder down, and engaging, grabbing the weight, walking. Very simple. It's a good precursor to a lot of other exercises. So stabilizing, walking up and down. Now the variation here, I'll just demonstrate as we come back up again, is doing a calf raise with each step. So that would be the variation. And of course, we're going to switch hands and do the other side. Good. Okay, this is a single arm overhead carry. Once again, we can use kettlebell or we can use a free weight or a dumbbell. From here, getting obviously into the proper position to pick up the weight. Here. Once we have it here, and press overhead. From this position, once again, we can just walk, keep it nice and stable. Shoulder back, bicep by the ear. Turning. And then of course we have the variation where we can do calf raise while carrying. Okay, the following exercise is a single leg balance, single arm lat row, and that's the opposing hand to foot. So you can do this once again with a kettlebell or with a dumbbell. Okay, single leg balance, we start here. I'm going to do it on my left leg. The left leg's going to be doing the work, right arm's going to be holding the weight. Okay, so we're down in this position, knees bent, weights in the heels. I'm not digging my toes and loading my quad, weights in the heel, loading my glute. From here, making sure my glute's contracted on my right leg, row up and back down. Arms out for balance. Good. From the front, nice and tall, hinge at the hip, bend the left knee, weights in the heel, pull and back down. Making sure our hips not cranked up, try to keep them as level as possible. From the side again, that would look like this, not here, back down and row. Okay, the following exercise is a hamstring Nordic lower, or some people call it a Russian faceplant. The way you're going to start is going to find something to secure your heels on. This can also be done by having a partner assist you by putting the weight down on the back of your heels and they stand behind you. So tuck your heels underneath, something secure. Good. And if your knees are a bit sensitive, you can have something under your knees. From here, glutes squeezed, hands in front. Not here, but here. We're going to use hamstrings down and then push back up and use our hamstrings to pull us back in. Now the other option and variation, if you're not strong enough to go back up as well, is down and then just crawl yourself back up to the starting position. No more than 7 repetitions in one set. This exercise is a supine lying, double arm, alternating leg extension. Similar to a bird dog, if you've done a bird dog, which is on all fours and lifting an alternate arm and leg. We're going to start on our back, knees up. I've got a 12-pound med ball. From here, double arm extension with an alternating leg extension. So both arms go, legs go, and come back to center. Making sure that we keep that back, tummy tucked in, back in a nice neutral position. Out, and back in. Alternate legs, double arm extension. Slow on the way down, a little bit faster coming back to center. Really focus on the control of the opposing leg that's not moving, that it stays in a nice neutral position from the start. This exercise is for the core. I've dubbed it the Cook core rotation. This is taken from Gray Cook's work in core stability and functional training. So in a half kneeling position, so half kneeling being knee, hip, shoulder, all in vertical alignment. Okay, we are going to be perpendicular to the line of pull of the cable machine. Starting here, we're going to take up the tension into the cable machine. Squeeze our left glute. So back here, our back glute. Make sure it's nice and tight. Toes tucked underneath. Starting here, nice and square. Into just below the sternum. Driving forward. Keeping your body square. Don't letting it drive down here. Nice and tall, nice and tight. Back in and back down. Pulling in, forward, in, and down. Okay, from the side. If you can see there, nice and tall, squeezing this glute here, forward, down. Try to avoid this motion here. We're staying at the level or below of the chest.